So I just got back from seeing White House Down, the second terrorist take over the White House movie of the year. And of course, the first question you ask, being that this is the second type of this movie to come out, which was better, White House Down or Olympus Has Fallen? And I guess just to get that question out of the way, I'm going to go with Olympus Has Fallen. As much as I kind of derided that film a bit and said it was meh, after watching this one, they did some things better in that. One, there wasn't as much CGI, which I'll get into in just a second. Two, they knew when to stop with the kid character. This film has a kid character who, at first, you're actually kind of liking and is thinking is a smart, tolerable child character, and then they overdo it near the end, and it ruins that. Like, at the end, you're just like, fuck that kid. Like, sorry, Emmerich, you went too far. You had it. You had it at a point. You could have had her sit back at a point, but you fucked it up. And the plot holes are surprisingly less in Olympus Has Fallen than in White House Down. There is a lot of plot holes, and it even has one of those, like, they try to do a twist a bit at near the end, and it doesn't make any fucking sense. As well as it's not having a very good motivation. Like, I really thought they were going with something here. Also, because I know I talked about this in the Olympus Has Fallen video, there isn't as much. The trailers made it look like there was a lot more taking place outside of the White House. Like, it really, at a point, I thought this was going to be like the entire Capitol was collapsing. There's a massive invasion force. Like, I was expecting this to be like really like they were setting up as a coup d'état, where there was like huge sections of the military somehow breaking away or something, or they would try to be smart with it. No, it is a small team of terrorists, and it does contain itself just to the White House. And it's those, so there is that aspect that I thought would be different and make it a little unique was not there. So it really was a lot like White House, Olympus Has Fallen, which both movies are basically Die Hard in the White House. You really could have made this a Die Hard, both of these. Well, this one more so, a Die Hard movie. This one's even more of a Die Hard clone, because at least Olympus Has Fallen, the guy starting off was a Secret Service agent. He was on the presidential detail. He was still an active Secret Service agent. He knows this stuff, so it is more of a, this is what this is basically the stuff that the Secret Service guys think of, like, non-stop. Well, they at least have one or two guys that's all they work on. A little bit more with Olympus Has Fallen when it comes to that type of stuff. White House Down, I'll get into his story in a bit, but so overall, it's not a horrible movie. It's a Roland Emmerich movie, and it's better than some of the past ones I've seen. Like, let's see here, it's certainly better than 2012. Who else do we got on here? It's more recent stuff. Back in the day, I still liked Independence Day. In fact, they have a little Independence Day. They go on a tour guide, and the tour guide does say, does mention like they blew up the White House on Independence Day. Yeah, so let's see here. Certainly better than 2012. Certainly better than The Day After Tomorrow. Patriots, his last real good, solid, good movie. I still like The Patriot. So the real question for at least Emmerich is this as good as is it at the 10,000 BC level? That is a tough one. It's hard to judge the two, because they are two different scenes. I think this one was funnier than 10,000 BC. So I guess it'll get a little bit above that, but that's on my Roland Emmerich scale. It's at the 10,000 BC level, basically. A statistical tie. Maybe, numerically, we added a point scale to it, at least at this time. Maybe if I had more time to digest the film, I'd be able to place it easier. But yeah, we got that, so yeah, at least it was better than 2012. That's all I gotta say. To get into the film itself is, it's another setup where terrorists take over the White House, but at least with Olympus, in this one, they do have, and this is a spoiler alert, freaking James Wood plays like the head of the Secret Service, and he basically sets this all up for, of course, the standard vague setup for that is my kid died on a mission. Now he wants to rectify this for humanity by blowing up the Middle East with nuclear weapons. Does not compute. Like, I really thought he had some sort of major, real, like, Woods kept on saying, what's this all going to be about? What's this all going to be about? And then it goes to this. Everyone in the movie kind of acknowledges, because right out early on they acknowledge that everyone knows that he's the one that portrayed the president. Like, it's not a big mystery throughout most of the film. And so, really not any of the film. Like, pretty much as soon as the get-go, as soon as you hear he's retiring, you pretty much go, like, he's going to be the traitor. No, not even before that. The first thing you see him do is he's putting on his suit at his house, and he takes off the American pin. As soon as you feel like, as soon as you see that, everyone in the audience is basically going, that's two things. One, that's James Wood, and he just took off an American pin and put it on a desk ominously. He's the guy that portrays the president. There's no fucking tension there. So you can do, and it's not even the best of James Wood. It's like there's a few times where he goes off on his, pissed off James Wood mode, but he looks old in this one. I will say that. Ooh. But I mean, that's what they try to use the excuse is how they're able to take over. But they kill like not even that many guards. Like, at least in Olympus Has Fallen, like there was over 100 North Koreans wound up storming the friggin' White House. Like, and they took heavy casualties. This one is like your standard die-hard rip-off terrorist team, which is, maybe 24 guys. At least Olympus Has Fallen. Like I said, these guys bum rushed the White House. In that movie, the Koreans bum rushed the White House with at least 100 guys from outside, plus a whole visiting diplomatic security team that turned on, so they were turned on them, so they were fighting from outside, and they took the president hostage right from the get-go. So, surprisingly, Olympus Has Fallen has probably the more accurate scenario there, because at least the Koreans lost half of their team just trying to take over the White House, as opposed to these guys who, some of them, when they make up the list, is it's your stand. They have the hacker guy, they have the one militant leader who is more cool-headed but personal. Basically not the Hans. What was the other? The blonde-haired guy from Die Hard. He's that guy who's got a personal grudge, but other than his personal grudge against the John McClane ripoff, he's much more in control. And then you've got the guys out of control. You have the hacker guy. They all fit the tropes. Really, somebody was probably looking over the script of Die Hard as they were writing this film. And then, of course, you've got the guy that's anomaly running the op. But these guys are all from different backgrounds. It's not like... Apparently, his team was put together from this people that the Secret Service would normally consider a threat matrix or something, or threat. And they then somehow teamed them all up. But these guys have very, the guy leading the operation is an ex-Black Ops CIA dude. Okay. But then apparently a couple of the other guys are just racists. that they found, like this like militia guy types, those guys would not be so good as the Black Ops to take over the White House. Like if it was just an entire Black Ops CIA team that went rogue, that would have been a better setup actually. If the entire team was a Black Ops group like that, then it would be okay. You could buy this a little bit more, that they would take over the White House with very few casualties. Like none of their guys get killed, and they kind of wipe out the agents real fast. And again, they don't really storm the White House. The military shows up and they just sit out there. Like there's a scene in this movie where they're driving the freaking presidential limousine being chased by these two SUVs with miniguns on the White House lawn in front of this, what must be at least a company of infantry and 3 M1 tanks, and they just sit there and do nothing. Literally just sit there and go, oh, look at that. And everyone assumes that it is the president in that van. None of the troops open fire on the SUVs. Eventually, Jamie Foxx calls in to the Pentagon to tell them to please use one of the tanks. And they drive one tank up a few feet, knock over a little bit of a wall, and they shoot it with a rocket launcher, which, by the way, the rocket they shot would not take out an M1, especially front. This rocket hits front on with the armor of a freaking tank. The exact hit a tank is designed to take. It apparently knocks it out, so they can't use it. And there's still 2 other tanks. At that point, the president's at that point you can see the president is driving around on this chased by these 2 SUVs. If that's your concern, that's the key to invade. In fact, they're kind of assault. Okay, we now know exactly where the president is. We can attack. We can take these guys. He's not under their control. Full speed assault. At least again in White House Down, for most of the entire movie, the terrorists had direct control of the president. And it's kind of scenes like that where they're they're holding off. They have a couple hostages, which is making me really think that this script has been floating around for a long time. What it is apparently is with Hollywood, a lot of people have been talking about that, considering the likely how similar the Olympus and White House Down is. That apparently in Hollywood, if a studio is sitting on a script, and then they get word that another studio is making a movie with a very, very similar script, they decide to quickly shoot and make that movie, because they feel if they make it, and then basically if it's not released right around the same time, there's a belief that then you can never release that film, and you've lost all your potential money that you might have spent on it. So I have a feeling that Olympus Has Fallen was the first movie to get approved, and the White House Down had just been one of those scripts that was floating around for a very, very long time, because there's a lot of stuff that seems very dated in this movie. And this goes to one, and after this I'll get into probably actors, and then I'll get into the CGI problems. But they're really shocked and surprised that Channing Tatum's daughter in this, as they're taking over the White House, takes out her camera, her phone, and snaps photos of the terrorists taking it and immediately loads them up to YouTube. This was apparently nowhere in their freaking plan. And this was apparently a huge fuck up. Which is... Really? You guys are taking over the White House, not wearing masks, and you're surprised that someone snapped a photo of you. This really blew their minds that this could happen. So this is telling me, come on, in this day and age, you gotta be kidding me. I mean, it's... The writer of this, as I'm looking here, is, James Vanderbilt. Either of that family. He must really be out of it on the tech-wise. Either that or he, again, wrote this script a really long time ago. Oh my god! I'm looking on his IMDb page. He's apparently screenplay. He's got the screenplay for RoboCop. Okay. We might be in trouble here. Although he did do the rundown. The rundown doesn't take place on high. Again, I mean, I don't know. He might have wrote that part maybe in 2003. But still, they're not called. They're not called. Oh yeah, the daughter gets annoying with this. It's like they're not called video blogs. It's called a YouTube channel. No, it's not. Who the fuck calls it that? Nobody. Really, YouTube channel. Even though I have a YouTube channel, really, the more popular catch for is calling it a vlog. Or a vlog. But yeah, yes, like she says, nobody uses the word blog anymore. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. This is screenwriters totally not getting it and trying to be ahead of a curve and failing on it in so many different ways. All right, I suppose I should talk about the actors, and you got Channing Tatum, who he's supposed to be the everyman, but again they try to at least give him an excuse, and he's trying to become a Secret Service agent, though why it's very kind of vague, like because his daughter really lionizes Jamie Foxx as president. Because apparently he's not there, even though he's living in D.C. And they're trying, and this is what gets me. They're trying to make it seem like he doesn't have a very good or important job, like he's kind of a joke. When he was in the army, got the Silver Star, and had afterwards, because the person he saved was the Speaker of the House's son, the Speaker of the House pulled some strings and got him assigned to the Capitol Police as part of his protection detail. He's really trying to get out of the Capitol Police to take, and he says right now he'll take the lowest position in Secret Service. Really? Do you know how many people kill to get into the Capitol? I'm sure people have actually killed to get the Capitol Police, because it's a sweet gig. It's for policing. It's considered really high pay. It's seriously, it's like a lot of cops' dreams job is that. They don't have to deal with the BS of regular beat patrols either, because they only guard the Capitol area itself. Really, you're trying to get, and you're on a and there comes even more bullshit with that little setup right there. But yeah, he does okay. I'm actually not. I didn't have any problems with him in this film. He does a much better performance than he did in G.I. Joe, either one of them. So I'll give him that. I really wasn't annoyed with him. I think he did one of his better performances here. It's not that it was fantastic, but I had no problems with him. Jamie Foxx as president, though, this has got to be. I'm laying this performance on Emmerich's shoulders here, because Jamie Foxx you're kind of watching him, especially early on, when he's proposing his, he has his speeches, and you're kind of sitting there like, no, like you did a black president, as in he's trying to be black, like they're overemphasizing it, like no, we have an actual African American president, he doesn't act this way. Jamie Foxx, as he's trying to do these his speeches and sounding, he just cannot pull it off here. And he's a really good actor, which is making me believe, again, that this is Emmerich's doing. Either that, or again, the script was not written for someone as good as Jamie Foxx, and they didn't believe they could pull off or it was probably pre-Obama. I'm guessing this this script is, again, pre-Obama. So they kind of, I don't know what they did, but he's not very convincing, and they don't seem to know what they want to do with his character. He does a really mixed performance there, and again, I lay that at the director's feet, because we've seen Jamie Foxx do fantastic performances before, so that's telling me this was Emmerich. Although as a character too, I really don't. Okay, the big driving force is apparently he's working out a treaty with Iran to solve the Middle East's problems. If you know anything about foreign policy, you start like pulling your hair out. They start discussing. They actually have details, which they shouldn't have done here. They really should have kept it very, very vague. And I think again, this is the problem: is they had some sort of this script was probably written during the Iraq War and the height of the Afghanistan War, because now we have Iraq is over. Afghanistan, we're about a year out from our combat role being ended. So we're kind of now looking at endgame stuff here. And yeah, Syria is a big concern for its spreading, which that should be an example right there of what the problem is. It's pre-Arab Spring. We know to know the complication cannot necessarily be signed by if we make it's something with poverty. And the Middle East's problems, if anyone knows this, is not really to do with poverty per se. Yes, there is a big problem why the Arab Spring happened was because of youth unemployment. That is one of the reasons why there was so much push for this. But the tensions and other reasons, poverty is not the problem in places like the UAE, which has some of the highest GDP per capita in the world. It's not that these countries don't have the economic resources. Potentially, it's how they spend them. So his apparently solution is they'll pull out the troops from the Middle East, which that's okay, kind of dumb with their whole setup. And Iran will do what exactly? Apparently, actually, what it is Iran's going to sell out a bunch of American arms manufacturers for supplying them. I like to point out, though, that Iran has pretty much its military is completely supplied by its own domestic production. Iran's own industrial military complex is huge within that nation. That's about it. Like, why Iran? How does that solve Al-Qaeda? How does that solve other rogue groups? Rebel movements? This treaty, how is that going to fix that? How is it solving tensions between these nations that don't like each other for long ethnic grudges, for religious differences? His entire plan makes no sense. And then apparently, without getting much from the U.S. perspective, the U.S. will abandon the region. Because a lot of those countries would much rather have U.S. troops remain in places like Qatar. Like, as much as sometimes the Middle Eastern complain, the leadership kind of knows it's a stabilizing factor. So you're kind of looking at this treaty. If you're thinking of it, you're kind of going like, you're not liking Fox's character because it sounds really dumb. And then, of course, by getting the military-industrial complex, which isn't really into the as much as sometimes is we like to villainize it. Really, I think when it comes to war, the military-industrial complex likes tension, but they don't like actual conflict, because then people get really picky about. Well, okay, there was a lot of messed up stuff with how the contract system was set up with Iraq. Normally they don't get away with that type of crap, but if anything, I think they would be thrilled by this, because this is going to turn into a huge freaking disaster. In fact, that would be hilarious if they're all assuming this and then the military-industrial complex comes around and they're like, no, we completely wanted this to go, because we know your plan is going to end in a massive war in the Middle East, and we're going to make a killing then. I wish they had a scene like that in there. I would have liked this movie better if that was the case, if they did a little scene like that. Just to kind of poke fun at the cliche a bit. Then this movie would have been smarter than it is. So I guess that's why. But yeah, so his performance is weird, and the whole main plot treaty thing doesn't make any sense, and apparently at the end everyone's signing on to it. Why? I don't know. It's not going to solve anything. Whatever. I'm not going to get hung up on that. James Wood I mentioned, and then of course the character of was it not Emile Clark or Emily Clark or not Clark? Emily Cale. And this character starts off, alright, she's got the, I'm not listening to you, Dad, because you missed my recital thing. Okay, very cliche, a little annoying. But then when she's in the White House, she's saying, yeah, she kind of knows everything. And I like how they have a freaking White House guide who's surprised that someone knows this. I'm pretty sure the real life White House guides say this stuff and people know it all the time. Like, the little tidbits. Because there are a lot of people that are very, like, if I went there, and yes, well, anyone know what it was called originally? Yes, it was, originally Executive Mansion or Presidential Palace. Yes, I know it was burned down by the British. I'm pretty sure these guys have been it, but like, he's shocked that she knows like all this information. And once the terrorists start attacking, you get the sense she has some moments where she's being very smart. She's like, she sees his terrorists taking over, so she's trying to get their pictures to post them online. And at that moment, when she's doing that stuff, and she's kind of like being careful when she's approaching people to see if they're terrorists or not, kind of hiding, you kind of are starting to get with her a bit. You're starting to support her as a character, and you're liking her as a kid character. But then near the end, she's getting, it just, they overdo it. They overdo it way much. Like, at the end, she's running on the White House lawn because they're launching an airstrike, waving the presidential banner in the air. And at that point, you're like, really? Really? No, sorry. You overstretched it. You forced her to on us too much. If you had just kind of kept her to the background after she was taken hostage a bit and had a few scenes, like there is like a little bit of a scene where the James Wood wants the president to do the nuke, scan with the nukes, do the football, and he's threatening to shoot her, and the president kind of like Fox looks at him and is like, I can't do this. If I do this, millions of people will die, and you understand? And she goes, yes, I understand. Like, if they had, like, kept her, like, to that, and maybe not some of the other stuff in between, really, you would have really liked that character. Oh, wow, I like this. It's a little girl, and she gets it. She's willing to do that kind of big-type sacrifice. And then at the end, she also, like, after that part, she really, after all these guys are fighting, she doesn't do jack shit. Like, she tries, like, she does, like, little girly slaps at James Wood at one point to try to help out. Like, I was really expecting her to pick up a gun and like shoot him. And there she would have done something. And then they try to turn her into like a celebrity because everyone's watching her blog. I don't know. And then there's Washington D.C. itself in this movie, which, by the way, is completely CGI. The one city on the Earth that it is easy as hell to get film quality stock footage of, they couldn't get. And even if they wanted to do a flyby, it's probably not as hard as you think to get the permit to fly a helicopter over DC on a weekend when the president and Congress are out. And even if you can't get the civilian one, you can probably pay the military to do it. Cover the costs, that type of stuff. They have a whole film relations board that they're always happy to work with. So, it's not that. They stick like a couple agents in the helicopter as it's flying around in case they try to do something crazy. But it's not like it's CGI and it looks so bad, and we've all seen actual too many pictures of Washington itself, so the CGI on this really, really sticks out like a sore thumb. Roland Emmerich really is one of those problem people when it comes to CGI, and this has ruined ruined it by overuse, by using it in stuff that it was just in a lazy way. Really, he's kind of shown himself for. That's why ID4 I'm gonna hate that, because this is gonna be a CGI extravaganza. When the original Independence Day was really one of those films that were striking the balance, where they were using models for really a lot of that stuff, and then when they really really needed to, they'd use a CGI at points. Well, we'll see who's doing it in the end, but still. The CGI is just bad at that. Like even White House Down, like okay, there was some CGI in there, yeah, but most of the shots of Washington D.C. used actual stock footage. Or if they were CGI, they at least put some real effort into the frickin' thing to make sure it didn't look like shit. Which the shots in this thing do. Oh god, it's bad. The CGI is really atrocious. And of course, the twist. What I was saying with the twist that doesn't make any sense with the plot holes. One, again, the plot hole is why aren't they just storming the site immediately? Like, even in Olympus Has Fallen, they make it quite clear that in under 15 minutes, the White House is just completely surrounded. And are they poised to take it over? Like, but if they didn't have the president within those like first 15 minutes, it was just going to be swarmed. Here they have like what you would expect from, again, like Die Hard, where they would just get the perimeter, nobody ever goes in, no one does jack shit for all the security that's around the White House does jack shit. Again, even when they're fighting on the White House lawn, and that's clearly the president, not a single infantryman sitting right on the opposite side of the fence bothers to take one pot shot at the SUV that's chasing the president. They're literally driving like feet from him. They don't think to just... Speaking of that scene, they don't think to even just pull up to the gate and hold off there, because at that point, wouldn't the troops right there then provide covering fire? Okay, that's the president. Those people are shooting at him. Shoot back. It really, if you look at the situation, yeah, they could decimate the top of the top of the White House. Ugh. Although I guess they at least didn't have that giant fake air defense system there. They actually just had some javelins. But yeah, the plot twist is that apparently the Speaker of the House was the one that arranged this whole thing and was involved. But when you really start looking at it, it doesn't make any sense. When they blow up the Capitol building, apparently as a distraction, so that they can send a bunch of Secret Service agents away from the White House to like provide security there. I guess that's their excuse for why there wasn't as many guards. He is in the building. He gets actually pretty badly hurt. He gets scuffed up. So, what happens? He could have easily gotten killed in that situation. So he's supposed to be part of it the entire time. And then, again, they go through this whole process where they also eliminate the president, the vice president. Like later on, they take over the air defense network. Apparently, one missile the Air Force One cannot handle, because at some point the vice president becomes the president, and they wind up shooting down his plane so they can make. It's out of the character. It's a lot of risk the entire time. Before this final reveal, he doesn't seem like he'd be like this at all. He's somewhat relatable as a character. As an actor, or not an actor, but his character you even kind of like. And they kind of did it just to have the cliche, you're the real power behind this, or... It kind of ruins. It's just like, why? This guy is not that bad. It is a really crappy twist. It's not an earned twist. And again, I've already talked about it, why just using the military-industrial one is just... It's cliche, and it doesn't really do anything with it. Like, if they went all out, like, make this, like, basically it is like private military contractors have just descended in DC by like hundreds to take over because they're going to lose their contracts. It would be stupid, yes, but I would rather have that, and would still bitch about it, of course, than just have them be the shadowy guys in the background that never get mentioned. Or at least, give us an example. Have them. You could have done that. Like, at least had the CEO of one of these companies be the villain or something. But they just really throw him off to the backside. Where, again, it goes back to, this would have been a better movie if they had just said, this is a black ops team from the CIA that got burned, and they're working with James Wood to get revenge. Really, that would have solved a lot of the plot holes in this movie. So I think that's about it. I've rambled on for about a half hour now. I think that's enough time this movie deserves. What is coming up next week? So I check comingsoon.net. Trailers. That movie Two Guns looks maybe fun, but at the same time you're kind of apparently there's like it's two. One's an FBI, a DEA agent. One's a special forces guy, and they wind up doing a bank robbery, and it turns out they stole money from the CIA, and the CIA wants it back. And I have a feeling this is gonna be one of those movies. Well, just tell them where it is, and I have the feeling the CIA will be like, fine. But it looks at least a little fun. Let's see, Wolf of Wall Street. I want to know a little bit more what the plot is on that, other than giving Leonardo DiCaprio an excuse to throw a midget around and burn money. Quite literally. Let's see. Oh, July 3rd. Here we go. Despicable Me 2. Oh, and The Lone Ranger. So we'll probably be seeing that next week on the 3rd, leading up to July 4th weekend. Let's see. Coming up after that, let's see, July 5th, it's just a bunch of limited stuff. Limited. 12th, is the big one I've been waiting for, Pacific Rim. And fuck Grown Ups. If you see Grown Ups 2 over Pacific Rim, just crawl in a hole and starve yourself to death or something. That's really. I made Grown Ups 1 my worst movie of the year. So, I don't hear it. And let's see what else we got later coming up. July 19th, we got Red 2 and R.I.P.D. As much as R.I.P.D. looks like it's a MIB knockoff, Jeff Bridges looks like he's having fun. And I'm tempted to go see it just to see Jeff Bridges have a lot of fun. But at the same time, I did see Red the other day on cable, and it is a fun movie. That's gonna be. I might wind up seeing both that week. Let's see. The Wolverine then comes out on the 26th. That one might be alright. 31st, you got Smash and Grab, Smurfs 2. I'm gonna watch the Cinema Snob site for that one. That'll be a fun one to finally see. And you got Two Guns on August 2nd. Percy Jackson, Sea of the Monsters. Maybe I'll see that. That's on the 7th. But 2 days later, Elysium. I want to check out Elysium because I like District 9, so it's the same director, and it looks like it might be a fun little movie. Let's see. Then the 13th, 14th, nothing. 16th, Kick-Ass 2. And Jobs, which. Fuck Apple. That was like the one scene I actually kind of get a little giggle out of in this movie. White House Down was apparently the hacker they brought in, tried to bring down Apple because he hated their iTunes policies. August 23rd. Not really much I'm seeing there. This is when it starts getting real slow. 30th. Not really much. Not seeing much there. At least not stuff I really have seen trailers for. Satanic? Looks like it's a general release. Anyway, so that's what's looking for the rest of summer. As for this, see the first White House taken over by terrorist movie. Though, if you're just bored this weekend, I guess this will suffice. No, that's it for me, guys. I'm gonna probably go to sleep. Sayonara. Signing off.